Hey guys, happy solstice. It's just Jen here from Creative Witch. I wanted to hop on and quickly talk to you about today's transits that are happening in the sky because this solstice is a big deal and I'm going to tell you why. So I'm going to quickly share my screen and we'll get right into it. Up on the screen, we have today's chart is pulled, and the sun has ingressed into the sign of Cancer. So it is illuminating all Cancer themes. Traditionally, Cancer rules the fourth house of home and our emotional landscape. So these things are being illuminated the way that we've always done things, things that stem from, subconscious ways of processing our emotions, from old, outdated ways that stem from childhood or our ancestors, or the way things have always been done, right? Um, the square aspect that we are having to Saturn and Neptune is illuminating the ways in which we're going wrong. We can either choose to kind of look at these things or we can choose to look away. I mean, ultimately, the choice is always yours. We have free will of choice, right? But the reality is, if we're not going to take a look at these things and initiate the growth that Jupiter, being in a conjunction with the sun here, is asking of us, we can stay stuck in old, outdated ways of doing things and have cycles repeat themselves. So ultimately, what's being asked of us today on this solstice and the energy that we're going to be taking forward for the next 6 months is growth, change, rebirth, revolution, all the things, right? Because every planet here is being triggered. We have two yods on the solstice, which is extremely rare transits. And I know I've been saying this, but 2025 is one of those years we have so many, so many massive transits that have not happened in many, 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 many years. So what's ultimately being asked here is change, rebirth, moving in different directions and doing things differently. So first we have a yod or from the conjunction between the sun and Jupiter. While it's not an exact conjunction, that won't happen until next week, it's still within orb, so we're still feeling and being illuminated what kind of needs to transpire. So there's a sextile between the sun and Mars, and the apex is Pluto. Pluto is asking for a rebirth of how we've always done things. And Pluto is also in a sextile with the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune, and the yod is Mars. With Mars being in the sign of Virgo, we could be like trying to avoid how we're feeling at this moment because the energy can feel like a pressure cooker. We could be feeling stuck between, previous ways of doing things and knowing the direction that we kind of need to move in, but we're kind of, living in fear at these moments. We're afraid because it's the unknown. But growth isn't comfortable, right? And sometimes, with situations like this the universe makes us feel so uncomfortable that we're kind of pushed to do things differently because it's better than living the same energy and hopefully doing something differently will bring us a change of events, right? And usually when we do the work, we're kind of rewarded. But with that being said, Mars in Virgo, it very much is detail oriented. It's the type of energy where we're crossing things off the to-do list. It can be very nitpicky, and critical. It could be, high anxiety and strung, and offering, just going until so we don't have to process any of the uncomfortable emotions that we're kind of feeling because with the sextile between the moon and the sun, both the luminaries are illuminating both the soul, and our emotional landscape is being illuminated. I will say also simultaneously we have Venus in Taurus. Venus loves to be in Taurus, which is helpful, and Jupiter loves to be in Cancer. It's also very helpful. So we have some positive aspects here to kind of like um, push the growth. But with Uranus here also in Taurus, Uranus is sitting at the anaretic degree of 29, and Uranus is the disruptor. Uranus can be chaotic, disruptive. That's why we're seeing all the craziness happen in the world right now. I'm not going to make this about politics. That's for another day. But you see what's kind of transpiring because change is being pushed on planet Earth in very big ways. We're all feeling the uncomfortable of this in the mundane and and outworldly kind of like everything that's happening within the world and in our personal lives, right? The sun in a square aspect with both Neptune and Saturn here is kind of like it's an uncomfortable feeling of, being illuminated and knowing that we need to change things, knowing that there's something that we're not like, on board with when it comes to our emotional landscape. We could be wanting to numb out with vices because um, negative side of Neptune is addiction, deception, and numbing out on our vices. And so, we have to be wary of kind of what we're hearing as well. But the sun is also in a square with Saturn and is asking us to push to do things differently, right? How we want to be seen, how we want to process that ego of ours. And with Jupiter here as well, is pushing for growth, is pushing for a new way of doing things. I wanted to just quickly, to kind of like leave this video off here, read the Sabian symbol for Jupiter at 3 degrees of Cancer because I thought it was very, very fitting. I lost my page here now. Very fitting for um, the energy that's kind of in the sky right now, and what it's kind of asking of us. It says here, a man all bundled up in fur leading a shaggy deer. The theme is trailblazing. This symbol speaks to a pioneer spirit and rugged individualism. The man, the image of a man all bundled up in fur leading a shaggy deer expresses hardness, strength of character, and courage. It also portrays the independent thinker or one who insists on doing things his way, even if it means going it alone. The positive, at its highest, the symbol represents inner conviction, strongly held principles, and a deep sense of purpose. The negative is self-defeating behavior or a tendency to create the same self-limiting problems as a way to avoiding the new, the unfamiliar, and the unknown. Your opportunity is your greatest advantage lies in following your instincts and doing what you believe is in your own best interests, even if it doesn't accord with what the rest of the world would be inclined to do. Your risk is guard against making things difficult for yourself by getting into situations where options and freedom are limited. So basically, the growth that's being asked here is, to move out of outdated ways of always doing things. Cancer energy is cardinal, it's an initiator, and especially when it comes to our emotions, things are being illuminated here with outdated ways of, following our past, like, that stem from tradition, childhood, our ancestors, the way things have always kind of been done. We need to move in a different way that is more spiritually aligned with our inner sovereign being. The ingress of Saturn and Neptune into the sign of Aries is the new 30-year cycle that's transpiring, especially when it comes to how we want to be seen in our spiritual landscape. With the North Node also, at 22 degrees of Pisces, we're pushing for highest spiritual center, a new way of, aligning with what is most important to us and the direction that we want to head into, even if it means looking fear in the face and doing the thing that we know that we need to do, even though it makes us feel uncomfortable. And we may be very scared and live in a fear-based reality with, being afraid to not know what will happen if we do take that particular action. But here's the thing, like the universe loves a stubborn fear and it loves a bold individual. We won't necessarily know how it's going to transpire until we actually do that action. And on the other side of that is, where we kind of truly live because we find freedom in those decisions, right? We find freedom and happiness and peace in, doing what's right for our own individual self as opposed to what everybody else would kind of want us to kind of do or, just going against, what we know that we need to do. With that being said, I hope that the solstice is a time of reflection for you and that we, take time to kind of process the direction and actions that we want to take moving forward because this energy is going to carry us through until eclipse season at the end of the year. And that's obviously a discussion for a future date. Anyways, till next time, guys, y'all take care. Bye.